Hi there, and welcome to the Tap Intuit Podcast, where each week I have the sincere pleasure of introducing a wellness professional in our community operating in their area of genius. This week, no different. I'm here with Donnie Martinez, and you are serving our community in a plethora of ways. Thank you so much for being here and making time.
Thank you for having me, Ravyn.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. And I think that it is amazing how I've gotten to meet you and to know your work. But for those of you who don't know, you're primarily in Cañon City, is that correct?
Correct.
All right, and doing amazing work. But before we get too far ahead, selfishly, I want to go all the way back to the beginning because even though we've gotten to network and chat a few times, I don't know where it all began, right? I don't know. Are you a native to Colorado?
No,
Okay.
I am from Chicago.
Oh, nice.
So I had to get out of that third world hole as soon
Amen.
as I became an adult, right?
I'm from Southern Illinois, so I get it.
Right on.
Yeah.
So a little better than Chicago, right?
It depends.
A little marginally.
Marginally.
So we used to come out here when I was a child, and I think it was the first time I came out here when I was about 8 years old. It was 10 degrees, blowing snow in Chicago. We land in Colorado, and I think it's like 60 degrees.
Wow.
Sunny. And we were going skiing. So I had this whole different idea that it was going to be worse out here.
Yeah.
And then the whole time we're in Cañon City, it's 60 degrees and sunny.
Wow.
And then I had to go back to 10 degrees and blowing snow. And I knew at that moment that I was going to end up out here
Wow.
from the get.
From 8 years old.
Yeah.
Goodness.
The energy was just always right here. So then we'd come out here twice a week. Or not twice a week. We'd come out here twice a year.
Okay.
Usually Christmas and Easter, and then sometimes in the summer. And my whole goal was someday I was going to make it out to Colorado.
Wow. And you guys came for the tourism, or do you have family here?
I had family here.
Nice. That makes it easier.
Yeah, I did. It was nice. So we celebrate the big holidays with them.
How nice. Yeah, coming from Illinois, I agree. If you're going to deal with weather of any kind, you need to have a mountain or a beach or something to just counterbalance.
Yeah, make it worth it for me, right?
You really do.
If there's going to be snow and wind, I want to at least ski on it or snowboard.
Thank you. I agree. Yeah, Illinois. Wow, that's a test in and of itself. You made it.
Yeah.
When did you make it to Colorado, then?
1997.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And
I've
after
never
high
looked
school?
back. Yeah, I was a little bit into college and then bumped out here. So
Okay. So you came out to Colorado after high school into college, and did you come out here to study, or you were like, all right, it's time, Colorado, here I come?
I'd just given up on Illinois altogether.
I get it.
The weather, the people,
Yeah.
the entirety.
The mentality.
Yeah, the mentality of that part of the Midwest. People are just angrier out there,
Yeah.
right? And I get it. I get why.
I get why,
I see
too.
drop in here and everybody's pretty chill. And it's been that way ever since.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here. Our community needs you and what you're doing.
Thank you.
And so, from an early age, you have been a community member. And for those who don't know, Donnie is, I would say, an educator in the psychedelic realm and facilitator, correct?
Yeah.
And also has had a radio show of his own. And I'm just getting so juicy, I don't want to get too far ahead. But you got to Colorado, what, early 20s?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what started you on the path to coming into this work that you're doing today?
Oh, I had quite the journey getting here. I took
Well, let's
about
talk
the,
about
the
it.
longest way I could have gotten to here.
Okay.
It wasn't even a thought in my mind until I was about 45 years old. So I
wow.
went the long route through addiction and alcoholism.
Sure.
So family history, right? I'm Mexican Irish, so I was going to be two things for sure. I was going to be Catholic and an alcoholic,
Oh.
right? So for sure. And I dedicated a big portion of my life to that accidentally, right? Because family traditions and
Yeah.
everything that goes with that, the family demons that carry through. I was an alcoholic until I was 45 years old, right? So I went to bed one night completely drunk and high. I was taking Xanax at the time, having to take Xanax in the morning, which is a weird thing, right? When you
Yeah.
get far enough into addiction, you start taking Xanax to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, you got to start your day with the Xanax just a Xanax and a couple of drinks.
Oh my goodness.
So I'd been on this rip for months. I wasn't allowed in my own house. By court order, I wasn't allowed to see my own wife and kids. So that's where I was at. And this is just a short 5.5 years ago even.
Gosh. Yeah.
And then I go to sleep and I'm awoken in the middle of the night completely sober. And there's no way I should have been sober. We're talking 3 hours later from just being a slobbery mess. Completely sober, and I am in the presence of God. There is no other way to put it. Swaddled by this love and peace that I've never experienced quite since, and I'd never even come close to experiencing it prior. So I'm in this thing, and the first thing I can think is, oh, I died. Yeah. I'm in heaven. And then my thought is, oh, so I made it. And then it clicks. And I'm like, no, there's no way. Like, you couldn't have made it. The rip you were on, like, there's no chance of you getting to this thing we speak of, right? So then this voice overcomes me. And I always thought it would be this booming voice, right? We think of God as everything and his power. So I'm thinking, if God ever shows up, it's going to be this boom. But it is exactly as the Bible promises, this still small voice. A thought so clear that nothing else could enter my mind. But so powerful above anything else. And it says, if you'll stop trying to control this thing and take on my will, I'll ease you of all these burdens you're carrying. The entirety of it. I got you. If you can choose to yoke up with me instead of insisting that you get to control all of this, I'll erase these burdens you're carrying. And how do you say no to something like that? Well, there's an actual voice coming through telling you this. In a moment, you shouldn't even be coherent. None of this is explainable. It's as the psychedelic experiences times 1,000. So we have this banter back and forth that everything's going to be okay as long as you quit doing what you insist upon doing. So then I wake up the next morning and I'm like, good to go. I'm like, all right, this means that I'm cured of this addiction and everything, right? And then this voice comes back and it says, well, today's the day you choose to go to rehab. And this is the tough part to even talk about, because my initial reaction was, I'm not a junkie. That's not me. I'm not some skid row bum. I'm not going to rehab. And the only message I got was, so day one, the first thing that I ask of you, you're going to say no. So I guess we're done here. And the fear that hit me of knowing this is the great bifurcation. You have one path to choose or the other, and there's no fence sitting anymore. So what's it going to be? So that's the day I chose to go to rehab. It was as clear as could be that I had to choose an entirely different path in life. And then it really comes down to, can you take on a greater will than what you have? It's either self or this great, beautiful thing that we call God or higher power or source. And I knew there was no more mincing of the two. So every day since then, my entire thing is I wake up in the morning and I surrender myself to that. What's this greater thing that I get to walk through? Because I really suck at the other part of it. When I insist that my plan is the way to go, the whole world falls apart. So I chose in that moment that I was going to take on this greater will. And the neat thing is that every day since then, it's been true. So the burdens of addiction and the burdens of anger and everything else that went with my old lifestyle have been gone. Gone. Just completely taken away by this promise that if I yoked up with something greater, that things would happen that I couldn't imagine. And it's almost like being on an entirely different timeline. The things I'm doing right now didn't exist in the universe in which I was operating before. Yeah. And every day has been this wonderment of, well, what comes next?
Wow.
And just staying open to that.
I'm going to vibe really hard for a second about what you just shared, because I'm picturing you hearing the sound of God, which is, like you said, ineffable. That is the perfect description. And I do agree with what you said about jumping timelines. And it makes one think, like, did you leave that existence and go into a new one that was available for you? It's just, the mind is fascinating. God is bigger than all of it. And that's what you're driving home for folks, is that whenever you step into your purpose, whenever you submit to God's will, you'll be put on the right path, on the right timeline, right?
Yeah, you will. Yeah. And the story of the things that come next are just,
Oh, I'm ready.
Don't make sense for where I was at and what was going on
Yeah.
at the time. There's the only way to describe it is that. And you could say, oh, it's just God of the gaps because you don't understand it.
Mm.
But I never knew that it existed. And I can tell you it exists for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't expect for this voice to come or this presence to envelop me and swaddle me and then make itself known.
Right.
It made itself known, so I know it exists. I know it's real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. So you obviously decided to go to rehab day one,
Yeah?
and you did that. How long was your stay, if you don't mind sharing?
Oh, I went through quite the process.
Did you?
Yeah, I was deep in it. I dug myself a pretty big hole. I was in a lot of mud.
Okay.
So mine wasn't going to be, I thought I'm going to wake up the next day and I'm just cured.
Sure.
God's like, no, man, not what you've done. You're pretty low.
Yeah.
So it took me about a week and a half to find a spot. And then I went to detox. My clean date is April 19th, bicycle day, right? Which is
cool.
coincidental, right? Bicycle day. Albert Hoffman's great LSD ride on the bicycle.
Fun.
But it's 2020. We're in the middle of shutdown, and I go to detox in South Colorado Springs.
Oh my gosh.
And it was super scary, and I knew what I was going into, right? I knew there were going to be people in there off the street. And I had to make the decision of, is this path you're on greater than those fears that you're going to have? And it was crazy, because I'm detoxing, hallucinating. I'm in there for 5 days. By day 2, I'm hallucinating. I'm ruminating thoughts and seeing things that I can't describe. There's people coming in off the street. They're sick, just coughing. They're coming in. They're checking in, right, because it's 13 degrees or 30 degrees at the time, somewhere in there, but it's snow and rain. It's just horrific outside. So they're checking in for their 5 days of I want to stay warm, stand coughing, just phlegming up. And all I can think is, oh man, a bunch of these people probably have COVID. And you're detoxing, so you're at your lowest physical point. How are you ever going to get through this? Like, is this the moment that you get COVID and it just doesn't work out? Maybe God's calling you home. Like, you don't know where this plan's going to take you. I had to stick it out through that. So 5 just horrific days of detox. And then I get out of there and they can't place me into rehab yet. I had almost 2 weeks, I think, in between the two. I'm doing video check-ins every day at 5 o'clock. There was this group called SOAR that saved my life and patched me in. And that was out of Sol Vista in Colorado Springs. And then I get into rehab. I do 15 days of rehab. It was supposed to be 30 days in the facility. But again, everybody in there is going through the same thing as the rest of us, right? We're mid-COVID lockdown. Yeah. Nobody knows what to do. We're all just freaking out. Man. Yeah. And I get it now. I had a lot of resentment towards those people initially, but I get that they were going through something they'd never been through. And we were battling, and I was still in this narcissistic, sociopathic mode that I had built up. It was my big, great defense mode that I had. So I was acting that way throughout my stay. So I only made it 15 days, and then they bounced me.
Oh, wow.
Right? So it was a great test because It was at the edge of Los Animas, and then they kicked me out at like 100. It was about 100 degrees at the time. It's just super hot. And I got to make like this 1.5 mile walk past these bars and liquor stores. After I'm defeated, right? I get kicked out of this place for, I can't even put my finger on what I got kicked out for.
Sure.
Defeated, I'm dragging all my stuff behind me. It's liquor store and bar, and that's all there is, it seemed like. And I knew at that moment I'd kind of made it.
Yeah.
As I'm making this walk, I'm like, you just got your ass kicked. Right? You went to this place where you were supposed to get this healing. I had this thing in my mind like, oh, these people are going to fix me. And I get there and they're broken more so than almost anybody at this time. Because we know the people who come into this space, right? I came into this space because I was broken and I wanted to fix other people. I wanted to offer people the same thing that I got. And these institutions are filled with those people in the middle of COVID. And they're doing all they can to survive. So they kick out this guy who's just being a narcissistic asshole. And I got beat down by that, and then I'm passing these bars and liquor stores. And it occurs to me like, man, if you can make it to the end of this road and make your phone call and leave here, you've probably got this thing. And I get to the loaf and jug, and I make some calls, and I get right home. 3 hours. Somebody's got to make a 6-hour round trip to come get me. And I'm like, I think you got this thing here. You just did the big test. So I think you got it. But then God had more plans for me, because as part of the plan that was put into me, then I went to sober living. And I did that for 3 months, which I had to humble up to do, because I've got a house, a wife, kids, cars, all these things that made me think, oh, I'm not a junkie at the time, were in place, because I was a high-functioning addict, which really just means I loved drugs and alcohol enough that I would get up and go to work, so I had enough money to do drugs and alcohol as much as I wanted. That's what a high-functioning addict is, right? We're the ones getting it done, so we can do a great amount of drugs and alcohol. That's wild.
I know.
So then I go to sober living for 3 months, because I need to learn how to get out of bed on time, how to brush my teeth in the morning, how to comb my hair, how to create a schedule. I'm talking the very basics of life had slipped away from me. So I'm getting up in the morning just a mess, but still making it to work, and that chaos follows you all day. So I knew I had to pull myself out of that chaos and create some routines if I was going to be successful.
Absolutely.
So I went to sober living, and I thought I was going to be there for 6 months, but I get kicked out of that too, right? That's part of the story too, because being a narcissistic borderline sociopath is a very difficult thing to navigate through.
Sure.
Until you can get the reins of that thing.
Yep.
And especially when you newly get that as your pathology, you
In your
drop
40s.
you drop into this at 45, and they tell
Yeah.
you, hey, here's your problem. And you start learning about that and realize that, man, I've been treating people this way my whole life. Enough to where the pros kick you out of rehab, and then the amateurs kick you out of sober living even. Yeah. It's really sobering to be like, okay, so this is me. And I think that's what a lot of us have to get to is, this is me, and what do I have to change about this, right? And there's a difference in populations, right? There's a lot of victims out there, and there's people like me. And there's an equal amount of those, I think, too, in that we're the ones going around doing the destruction. And I had to come to terms with, that was me, that I was one of them. I was one of them causing this destruction and victimizing people. I was a professional fighter, right? I made a living being a professional fighter, training professional fighters, being a fight promoter. And that was my mentality through life, is if something was in my way, I could probably destroy it if I needed to get on to the next thing. But then that's not what makes for a civilized society. So when I say the things that I do now weren't available on my other life path. I mean that extreme.
I appreciate your insight into that. And also, I want to offer that just from a biological standpoint, genetically, these were the biomarkers that you were incarnated with, that were divinely given to you by your ancestors. And you were built that way by design to keep yourself safe, right? And I think that a lot of men who are willing to face the thing that, my gosh, the things that you were willing just to sit with alone is incredible. And also, I think it's important to gently remind, hey, we're just now figuring this shit out. I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I needed that walk to work in the recovery space.
Yeah.
Because most of the people I work with are some kind of recovery.
Yeah.
Alcohol, drug addiction. And we learned early on that if those people don't have somebody they can relate to, it just bounces off of them, right? The peer support space of all this is super important. I don't want to talk to somebody with a PhD.
Right.
Who's never been through it, who this is a theory for. I want to talk to somebody who's been through the mud, and they're like, hey, this is what worked for me, and I can get you out of it. Those have been the people who were super helpful for me. I had to know, oh, you've been through this, and now you're on the other side. So then maybe there is hope I can get to where you're at. You're telling me you have 15 years of recovery, you're clean, I can see you got a great lifestyle, and you're happy, so I can get there. I don't have to begrudgingly not drink and think, oh, this just sucks. You give me the alternatives. Oh, there's hope in that. Let's do that. See, I don't mind that I went through it. I see the value in it now.
Yeah, I'm just so grateful that you're still with us and that you were able to put it down. I think that it says a whole lot about your character, but also about your discernment in relationship to spirit at large. So it's huge. And thank you for following Spirit's will. We have to be willing to just completely surrender.
Yeah, I think
as you did.
The spirit had been knocking for a while, and it wasn't getting the messaging through, so had to show up in a way that I don't know. Most people don't get that opportunity, I guess.
I don't.
I read about Bill W.'s story for AA,
Okay.
and it was similar, right? It's a white light experience, they call it. When you're so hard-headed and stupid that God himself has to show up and drag you out and be like, hey, man, you weren't really going to wake up until I came here and dropped in myself, apparently. So I'm so fortunate to have that. And then I didn't know till later that was Bill W.'s walk, right? We wouldn't have AA if two things didn't occur.
Okay.
If Bill W. didn't have a white light experience with God himself, and if he didn't do deliriums and psychedelics. And a lot of people don't know that. They forget that AA was a psychedelic club, and it probably still should be today.
Yes.
But now it's this weird, like, completely, we got to be this totally sober thing. But Bill W. and Dr. Silkworth, who started the whole thing, were using deliriums and putting people in the hospital to help them get over alcoholism. Wow. And then Bill W. ended up being a huge advocate for psychedelics later on in his career.
Yeah.
So we're full circle back to what was successful from the beginning. And it's working great.
It is working great. I want to go back to your story because selfishly I want to know. So you were 3 months in sober living, and then since you didn't complete there, what was the path forward?
So there was no mandatory completion.
Oh, good.
Which is a weird way to walk through this thing.
Sure.
I was the only one in every place that I went that wasn't some kind of court ordered. It's like they don't know how to handle you. They're like, so you just showed up here on your own?
Okay.
You just want to get better? And I'm like, yeah, man, I decided it was time. I'm like 45 years old and God showed up. I'm old enough. So walking through it on your own is weird because then they try and use the same levers they do on the rest of the people who are court ordered.
Right.
And that played into the narcissism where I'm like, you can't kick me out. Even if you kick me out, I'm not going back in or anything, right? I'm just on to the next.
Yeah.
So when I got bounced from sober living, I just went home.
Okay.
I just packed up my stuff. We had a meeting the one night because there was some tension, and I brought an empty vehicle with the plans on packing it up to go home.
Okay.
Which was shocked to my wife and kids because they weren't privy to that. And I just showed up back at home again.
I wondered.
With this guy, weren't you supposed to be gone like another 3 months, right? So that made for some work, right? So I had to make the decision there that if I wasn't going to be in sober living, I had to start some other intense work.
Okay.
And that's kind of what brings us to the conclusions in the work that we do now.
Okay.
So what I do is I do the outdoor portion. We have a clinic, one-of-a-kind clinic in Cañon City, right?
Yeah.
Downtown Main Street of Prisonville, USA. We have a clinic where you can go in and get guidance on psychedelic medicine, mainly DMT. And what I do is I take people out in nature and guide them there. Yeah. Because I found out early on, if I was going to make it through this thing, that's how I was going to make it. Yeah. So I started hiking, rock climbing, all the things outdoors. Yeah. And that's when I started studying about the vagus nerve and polyvagal theory. And I think that's one of our greatest ways forward between that and CBT and maybe some other new theories that we've picked up. I think that's how we start letting everyone heal themselves in this space, right? Like throw out most of what we've thought we've known up until this point. Yep. We've got new great tools, and somehow I just stumbled into those. When I went home, I knew I couldn't go back into the routines I had. Yeah. So I said, all right, what are you going to do? What are you going to do that's difficult enough that it's going to put your mind on the tasks? Everybody keeps saying, oh, you got to be mindful. You got to do mindfulness exercises. Mm-hmm. What the hell does that even mean? Most of the time, we're not defining that. So what's that mean? I said, okay, you're really good at sports and you want to do sports, right? You've always done something active and it's always been too easy for you, right? Mm-hmm. I can always just pick something up and I'm good at it. So what do you have that you would suck at? Well, I'm 5'5" and 200 pounds. I'm super strong, but super squatty. And I have like T-Rex arms, right? They're small for 5'5" even. Oh. Why don't you rock climb? You would really suck at that for a really long time. So that was my train of thought. What's the hardest thing you could do that you're not going to be like every other sport you've tried? Like, oh, I'm already there with most of the people who are good at this, right? Whether it's fighting, football, wrestling, I could just jump to the top. You'll suck at rock climbing for your whole life, won't you? So I sucked at rock climbing really intensely for 3 years. Wow. Because I knew it was dangerous enough and it was difficult enough that every time I went rock climbing, I could think about nothing else. That thing, right? That thing that we have that I hope we'll talk about later, I knew that would have to turn off. Yeah. Because if I wasn't thinking, what's my next move? I could die. Yes. Or fall 15 to 20 feet, and it sucks.
Have a bad day.
Right? It sucks. Yeah. So you got to stay locked completely, and to me, that's the mindfulness, right? Yeah. I got to be right here. I can't have that thing going. Yeah. Because that thing is what makes me drink and want to use drugs. That thing's what's puts me into anxiety and depression. Mm. And somehow I stumbled into that, and now we've taken that same theory and put it to here, and healed many people or helped them heal themselves by handing them this theory. Wow. Because we only get two choices, I think, right? Yes. What we're told is we're either going to be ruminating within our default mode network, yes, or we're going to be a task-oriented individual. That's right. And if we can stay a task-oriented individual, we're not doing this thing that drives all those things that we just mentioned. So that's what I did. I came home and did that. Right?
That's hard.
And that kept me doing getting up on time, making sure I go to meetings, brushing my teeth, combing my hair. And I built this whole thing around that and being mindful and structuring my day. Good. Wow. That's it.
That's it. Oh my gosh, that's it.
The simplicity of the difficulty of that.
I think that's beautiful. And I'm not discounting the fact that you had a support system at home, but I think that it's easy to gauge that probably wasn't easy Right. So did you also have a support system through folks that you had met along the way outside of your nuclear family?
I'm glad you bring that up because it's something we have to stress is community in this whole.
Yes.
You're not going to make it in community, without community. You're not going to make it without community because we don't make it in isolation. And as addicts, we slip to isolation. And as people in depression, we slip to isolation. I tuned into people, and I think it's key, right? And there's still some great groups out there that I tune into when I can. We were just talking about Pig and Piglet, and then you guys have NOAC up here, right?
Yeah.
Which is a whole network of people. And we created the Society of the Sacred Stoned Apes too now, right? Which is, but I had groups early on that I had to tap into.
Okay.
I wasn't going to make it
Yeah.
unless I found some like-minded individuals that somehow were keyed into this new lifestyle that I was trying to create.
Yes.
Can you take on a new lexicon in life, right? Can you start to speak different? Because you're speaking a certain way as an addict, as a junkie, if you will, right? Because in the end, I was a junkie at that point. I was in depression.
Yeah.
I was talking the wrong way. I was talking about the things that ailed me. I was complaining. I was poor me.
Yeah.
Everything would be all right if this didn't always just happen to me. So I had to change the way I thought and spoke. So I had to find the people who thought and spoke differently. And for me, it was the people in early recovery or had 2 to 5 years and could say, hey, here's how we got here.
Yeah.
And I think we move in this, it's not a hierarchy, but there's strata, there's tranches
Sure.
of different people
Sure.
in a lineal way that speak different ways for where we're at. You and I speak most of the same language, right? But where I had to be at the time was who could get me through this early phase of recovery where I'm still thinking about drinking every day, right?
Well, that's why I asked, because I'm thinking about your first day back home, and going to sleep was probably an exercise all in itself, but then waking up and your new home, I'm sure your wife was grateful and relieved, and also there's some probably tension there. So who do you call?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't slip back into the same patterns that kept you sick. If nothing changes, nothing changes. A great adage from AA, there's many of them.
Yeah.
I had to find new patterns and new people.
Yeah.
I did that
Yeah.
through community, and it was going every day to these video conferences at 5 o'clock. It was adding new meetings. I did meetings 6 days a week for a while, and some of them needed to be in person. And my good brother AJ Donovan had started Faith Over Fear,
Wow.
and I think I got the hoodie I wore today even. And that was a Christ-based group where we all got together and talked about where our faith was in terms of our recovery.
Wow.
And it was surrender to the higher power. Be grateful for the things that you got to walk through that day. And that was huge in just changing the way you walk through the whole thing.
Yeah. My goodness. What a path. So you took on rock climbing. You definitely had a solid support network. When did you step into the realization, now I'm ready to help others?
It wasn't for a while.
No.
And I want to stress this. I
Please.
want to kind of
Yes, please.
go off on this piece right
Do it.
here, right?
Yeah.
The people who I see who really make it in recovery don't step into leadership roles right away. The ones who do bad in recovery, they get out of detox or rehab and they're like, oh, I'm starting a men's group. I'm starting Bible study, or I'm going to go get my CAC1 because I'm going to start counseling people right away, or whatever that looks like. They're straight to the top. And it's hard to quell that enthusiasm, right? But we have to, because you got to step back and be selfish in your recovery and have to go, I'm still a damaged, hurt human being. And how can I be selfish enough to heal myself so I can give the best version of myself to other people? And if you blow by that, you're going to miss your own recovery and you're not going to give your best self to other people. Yeah. So it took me a long time to step into a leadership role whatsoever. I made it a point in my mind that I was going to fix myself because I was a shit human being. And I had to accept that I had gotten to a point where I was truly just a shit human being. Those narcissistic, sociopathic tendencies of gaslighting and damaging other people out of survival mode,
Sure.
and learn, okay, what does healed me look like where I'm not in survival mode, and how do I get there? And I can tell you it's a long process for all of us. So don't skip that to be like, oh, I want to go help people right away. And we do that, I think, out of gratitude because it's fresh for us. Oh, these people just helped me in detox and rehab. I want to give that to somebody else. Cool, you want to give that to somebody else, you better do it in the best way possible. Because the people I saw doing that too early in recovery have all relapsed now, and some of them haven't made it back. So I took the longest road possible. And I want to say, man, it was like 3 years in until I really took on this other side of the role. We didn't start Society of the Sacred Stoned Apes till somewhere after Prop 122, right?
Oh, boy. Yeah.
So when we could be loud about it,
Right.
when they said you could use psychedelics openly, we said, all right, well, then we'll start a group and just be in your face about it. That was when I stepped forward and said, I'll take some leadership role in all this.
Yeah. What you described was not bypassing your own healing and integration experience, right? And that integration piece of who am I every day when I wake up and what decisions do I make is so vital. I think not only in the recovery community, but also in the healing community at large, you see that. And I agree. I think it's from a place of gratitude, from finally getting relief and so badly wanting other people to know they can have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got to be able to first steward ourselves properly, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you got to balance that with the other piece of you don't want to pause and wait too long. Right? Sometimes you do just need to push into it.
Act.
Yeah, it's just act forward, and that's how we came to the whole theory of using DMT for PTSD and recovery. We weren't going to wait until this piece was put into place by the state, because we're still waiting for legislature on the state. We're still waiting for DORA to sort that out. And so many of the facilitators that we've treated with DMT that have done the whole process for mushrooms, or were thinking about doing the process for mushrooms, went, wait, so you guys just jumped ahead and started helping people? And we're like, yeah, when we found the power of this medicine, we just went ahead and did it. And because this was 2.5, 3 years into my recovery, I was feeling good about where I was at.
Yeah.
And then we get introduced to the power of this medicine. And I have this template for behaviorisms, polyvagal theory and CBT. And can we marry all this together and just move forward? And let's just do it. Why would we wait? I'm not waiting for permission from the state. They're probably not going to get their template right anyway. We just moved ahead and we haven't looked back.
That's amazing. I think that community as rebellion is really needed right now. And when the system isn't getting it right, not that we want to do things nefariously or illegally, we have to find ways to heal ourselves.
Yeah.
And if the system isn't affording a way to do that, then our community will find a way to heal together. And I think that's being evidenced in Colorado, and that's really encouraging.
It is. It's amazing that we took the route that we did.
Let's talk about where it started. So you're on this journey, you're years in, things are looking up. What experience brought you into even being introduced to DMT?
So I got to give all credit to my guy, Ken Reef, man.
Okay.
He's been unreal. We'll look back on history, and he's going to be one of the biggest figures in this entire thing, right?
Yeah.
If not on the level of Albert Hoffman and people like that, Robin Carhart Harris. I'm going to use big names because nobody really knows who he is right now, and what he's been doing in the background is superb.
Yeah.
It was through him. We were in the fight game together.
Okay.
He was a cameraman. I was a cornerman trainer. He'll tell stories about me getting in fights in the crowd and just being who I was at the time. So he's in this thing for years. And my mom was helping the homeless, so by ancillary measures, she was part of recovery.
Oh, yeah.
So when I get clean, she's bragging to Ken and these other people about how her son got clean and he's just this amazing individual. So I show up at this fair. It's a fair in the park.
Okay.
All the services come together for recovery and homelessness. And I knew who Ken is in the background as a recovery leader. He started veterans groups at that point.
Wow.
He helped start 2 other recovery groups. He doesn't quite know who I am because I've been doing these video conferences at home.
Sure.
And I show up to this thing and he'll tell the story where he says, man, Rita Martinez is bragging about her son. And then all of a sudden she's walking this asshole, Donnie Martinez, over because of who I was in his world.
Ah.
And she introduces us. And he's like, you got to be kidding me. Like, this is who she's been talking about. And we met 2 worlds apart at that time. The human he knew prior wasn't the human he was meeting at that time, thank goodness. So then I start going to some of the meetings like Faith Over Fear and YPR that he was involved in. He really helped facilitate and start a lot of this. And then I'd given myself 18 months. I said, you're not going to mess with anything. You're not going to introduce any new substances. You're going to be a teetotaler for 18 months. And then like I tried weed edibles again after that. And I'm like, those just aren't for me. That's not doing it. And then we were at another thing in the park. And I just noticed like these guys are just super freaking happy. And I'm going to some of these AA meetings and some of these people online are just like downtrodden, dismal. And I'm like, oh yeah, I guess, this is recovery, right? I'm struggling through this. Still thinking about using every once in a while. Some of this really sucks. And then I see these guys, they're playing bags. I'm like, these guys are winning at bags and just having the time of their life. And I'm like, what the hell do you guys do different, man? Because I've been seeing you for a couple months now, and your approach on this whole thing is just completely different. I want that.
Yeah.
What is that? And he says, well, we're all microdosing, bro. I'm like, what? You're microdosing? He's like, yeah, we're all on shrooms right now. These guys all use my products. I'm like, so the whole time in the background, you guys been using shrooms. And that's why I see you at the meetings, and you guys are the ones being forward and open, and you have all this transparency and candor, and you're not hiding what you're doing. I want that. So I started microdosing. And when I say microdosing, I should say mid-dosing.
Okay.
Because I've never really microdosed mushrooms, right?
Okay.
I think I started on 0.3, and then I figured out that I need to break through the veil.
Yeah.
So I'd usually take about a 0.7.
Okay.
So every Friday for 4 months, I would take a 0.7 or somewhere in there and meditate in my room with my wife. She's my safe space. She's the greatest underground facilitator you will ever meet.
Oh, cool.
She doesn't do this.
Oh, yeah.
But she is so good at holding space. I wouldn't be doing what I do if it wasn't for her.
You mentioned that your wife is like the best underground facilitator. Not that she's operating in this space, but it sounds like you have a personal support in that capacity.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah, she's wonderful. And I think that so much of our life trajectory comes down to that too. Right? Who we choose to be around. Who we're blessed to be around is great, right? And our filtering of that, especially when it's your partner. It's the person you spend the most time around, right? It's really important. And I've been blessed she's walked through some stuff with me, right? And I've walked through some stuff with her too, right?
Sure.
Like, we've
Life.
seen some battles with the whole thing. And it's been amazing to get where we are now.
Definitely. You shared with me that you're 26 years married.
Yeah.
And you said almost 30 years
Almost
together.
30 years together, yeah.
So, as I shared with you, that's growing up together. It's beautiful that you've been able to walk this walk together. Not that I'm assuming it was easy, But I'm grateful, and it's encouraging to hear that you two have had each other throughout it all.
I was just thinking, one of the great components of DMT and how it relates to male and female partners.
Okay.
One of the great features of DMT is it exposes us for our true self. Our true self being, I'm not this meat puppet. I'm this beautiful soul, right? Having this physical, finite experience. I'm an infinite soul, right? Mm-hmm. If not part of, right? Part of this divine, infinite being. Right. And when you can momentarily have a bit of separation between this meat puppet and this soul, it gives you an idea who you really are, and that's where a lot of healing can begin. And I was thinking how that relates to males and females, especially in a partnership, and that males animate life. Mm-hmm. And that's why we're physical beings. We do this big physical thing, right?
Yeah.
And the sperm itself, right?
The yang, yeah.
It's in there doing its thing. It's got a race to win right from the get-go. And then we have this, what seems like this passive egg, right?
Potential.
But the woman is a portal to the divine. And when the sperm gets to the egg, there's this flash that occurs that we can't understand, right? Science can see that something occurs, but again, it will always be this ineffable thing. Because female beautifully gets to act as this portal, and the soul incarnates with this physical being at that point. And it's just such a beautiful process, right?
Yeah.
And then we get so addicted to this matrix of this physical world that we forget that we're this beautiful, divine, infinite soul. And so much of what we do with the medicine is just reminding people of what they really are.
Yeah.
And give them that separation, because this physical being is pretty awesome. We forget how awesome it is, that it gives us dopamine, oxytocin, norepinephrine, all these really neat, exciting things. In fact, we get addicted to that. How can I go get my dopamine every day? I grab my dopamine box when I wake up in the morning because it wakes me up. And then I scroll for more dopamine. And it's lovely, but we get locked in these matrices of these networks. And then eventually some of these networks become not so beneficial. Right. And we have to figure out ways to pull ourselves out of some of these networks. And that was my whole process of why I had to go to detox, rehab, sober living, create a new way of living within polyvagal theory, because so many of the patterns I had created were no longer beneficial to me. So I had to create new patterns, pull myself out of that. Because I had forgotten till God himself showed up and said, hey, you know, you're not what you think you are. You're not controlling this thing. Maybe you just walk through it and let me do the real work. I had to remember that I was part of this beautiful divine thing.
And you are?
And I've been blessed every day to do that.
Wow. I know that we can logically talk about these things, but when you just get the visuals and you're like really feeling what you're sharing, it's intense. And I think that the human experience is intense, and the patterning can really do a great job of deafening the intensity. I think what you're sharing is so important for folks to understand that it's an exercise, isn't it, to create new patterns. We can even mention neuro-linguistic programming. Is NLP something that you relied on?
Yeah, it is. And it's something, NLP is something I give all my people.
Oh.
Sometimes in the most basic way, right? I think we did some of that here.
We did.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? So we'll have people rub their fingers when they get into this state that's so great and say, how do I get back to this? And we tell them, well, this is normal. This is where we should be. So you can just take 2 deep breaths, rub your fingers together, and access the state of being again. And we forget that and just blow clean past it.
The monkey mind, the reptilian brain.
Yeah, the monkey mind, which is why we have a Society of the Sacred Stoned Apes. It's just a tongue-in-cheek name.
Right. Yeah. And I think that it's incredible. I love the logo too. It's really fun. I think that there's a way for people to know it doesn't have to be so serious. Like healing is a serious matter, but it doesn't have to be so serious all the time. Matter of fact, it should be playful. Did you find that you brought rock climbing doesn't feel like childlike play, but maybe a little for you it did?
Oh, it is. It is. And that's part of it. You have to get back to that essence of childhood. And I always say to people that you got to get back to the wonderment of this whole thing. And that's one of the things we lose, and one of the things that psychedelics helps bring us back to.
Yeah.
We get caught in this humdrum every day. And we're like, I gotta get up and go to work. And I gotta come home and I gotta clean. And I gotta cook a meal. And we forget, man, I get to do all that.
That part.
Wow. I get to wake up every day. And this entire thing I get to walk through. And what's gonna be waiting for me somewhere along in that day, there's gonna be something.
Yeah.
And then you start to remember the wonderment and the entirety of it. I mean, we live in Colorado.
Right.
All I got to do is go outside, and I'm like, oh my God.
I know.
People come out here to get treatment, and they go, do you ever get sick of this? And I'm like, absolutely not. I don't know how you could.
Me neither.
And they're like, I get to go around the nation for work. I get to go to cool places, Seattle, Portland, Arizona, all the way to Florida, Washington, D.C., and I keep getting drawn back to this place, and I've barely seen any of it.
Really?
And I'm out most weekends. If you look at my Instagram, it's just a stream of us being out in nature, trying to see more of the wonderment of this thing. And the reason why I'm the outdoor facilitator is because I want to hand that wonderment to other people. Here you go.
Yeah.
Remember how great this thing is.
Yes.
Don't get caught in this default mode network of, oh, here I go. I got to wake up and it's going to be shitty again.
Sure.
Man, just pull yourself out of that for a moment and see how cool it really is.
The Great Reset.
Yeah.
I think about, and I'm already concerned about, the Great Reset that might be needed for kiddos in 20 years, right? Because I'm picturing you outside as an outdoor facilitator, just reminding folks my age, I'm an 80s baby, go and play with a stick, pick up a rock, hunt for a mushroom, right?
Yeah.
Foraging is one of my favorite things here, just for fun. Excuse me, but like amanitas in the wild, there's nothing more magical than finding a red glowing mushroom in the wild. I worry about today's society, and we don't have to go down that rabbit hole, but for those who never played or explored in nature, here's how.
Some people were never allowed to. Some people
That's
never
fair.
had the opportunity.
True.
Right? Because of their life circumstance.
That's true.
But I had this weird thing that happened to me that was almost, it's a great allegory because it's almost Plato's cave. It's a parallel. And I'm just now, as I say it, realizing it, how much of a parallel. So, treated some people for dementia.
Okay.
I have dementia patients that I work
Wow.
with, which is crazy.
That's
you can,
insane.
You can reverse dementia with psychedelics. So I'm treating this guy, and they have this VR headset. And we're doing some mushroom facilitation. And for the portion we did with them, it was him and his wife. So they dropped some shrooms, and I'm like, hey, I'm just going to have you go away for the first hour as this kicks in, and I want you to be chilling in bed next to each other, just holding space for each other while you're going through this ramp-up portion that psilocybin gives us until it settles in. And they're like, yeah, go ahead and put the VR headset on, mess around. And I put it on, and I'm trying to hit start on the screen that's in front of me from what I can see. And it's not working. And then I'm like, oh, this thing is that 3D that I got to actually reach forward to press this button. It's 2 feet in front of me still. And I'm like, oh, wait, if it's that 3D, how 3D is it? And I'm like, oh, the forest is 3D. I can see past some of these trees. And then there's this cabin with a window in it. Can I stick my head in this cabin? And I stick my head in, I can look all around the cabin. And I'm like, how cool is this? I'm just completely mind blown. And And the reason why it's like Plato's cave is because all of a sudden I'm like, why is this so cool to me when I already fuck this thing?
Yeah.
I have that out here.
Yeah.
And we're getting caught in these. We're playing video games for 6 hours. We're on Facebook. We can be on there for 2 or 3 hours and then get lost. And the wonderment's out here. And I forgot for that time I was in that VR headset how much cooler it actually is out here. I can go to the mountains. I can stick my feet in the stream. I can touch the soil. I can take my shoes off and do some grounding and literally touch grass.
Yes.
And we forget that. And it was exactly Plato's cave. And I was stuck in that cave thinking it was the cool. It was the height of everything could get, was the coolness of this digital thing. I could be in 3D mode. And I'm like, no, you have that. What are you thinking?
We do have that. We're incarnated.
Yeah.
It's even better.
Into something even better than that. Yeah.
Even better.
And then we say, oh, I got to get up and walk into this thing again today.
Yeah.
And then how do we pull ourselves out of it? That's the question, right? When we get so deep into those patterns and into that default mode network piece of it, how do we pull ourselves out? And that's what we've been working on. That's kind of the scope of what we do is, can you give somebody the medicine and then show themselves how to pull themselves out of this matrix far enough that they can begin to heal themselves?
Yeah.
We're giving you an opportunity and a couple of tools. And then I need you to go figure the rest of this thing out, because I can't hand it to you.
Right.
I can put it on the table, and I'm going to need you to pick that up.
Right. You can't experience it for folks, but you can offer the experience.
Yes.
And it is up to them what to do with it. Make the most of it. Embrace it.
Yep.
Wow.
And it's so rewarding to watch them do that. And somebody get it for the first time. And that's a big part of why we do what we do, right?
Yeah.
Is to see that aha moment where they're like, oh, so this whole thing, I've been looking at this whole thing the wrong way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, it really is that cool. And it's not quite important in the way I thought it was important.
Right.
Right? And that's part of the ineffable part too, right? You know what I'm saying, but I can't probably say it here and have it make sense to the masses even.
Right. It has to be experienced.
In the same way that people would get out of their DMT experience and they come out of the meditation portion, and we've had people try and explain it. They go to explain it to our group of facilitators and they're like, oh, you would never get it. And then we chuckle because we're like, no, you think we're not getting it because you're only half explaining it, but we know exactly what we're talking about. But when you go to tell everybody else about it, they're going to look at you like, what the hell are you even talking about?
Yes.
You're crazy.
You've lost it, man.
Right? Until they get that moment and they're like, oh, this is what you meant. Thank you.
Yeah.
The whole thing I've been looking at the wrong way.
I think what's really cool, though, and probably important, and I'm only guessing, but it especially helping men and those who have been operating in masculine containers that are machismo, especially sincerely.
Yeah.
But it's helpful to know that on the other side of the realization, they're not waiting to be met with shame or guilt. They're waiting to be met with people who are like, no, we're going to put all that down. We don't have to cling to that. That's not what this exercise is about, right? We want to see our stuff, and the goal is to heal it and to recognize it and to know how to work with it. Because I think some folks that I've talked to are afraid of the medicine for fear of facing the psyche, and our subconscious is interesting in the way that it will keep itself safe. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It is. And a big portion that we see that goes unrecognized sometimes is there's this fear in men that if they get too healed, that they won't be able to call up that other thing if they need to.
Shake out the hero, I've heard it referred to. Yeah.
They think, I'll lose that piece, and if I need to defend my family or my spouse, will I be able to bring that up because will I be too soft in that moment? It's actually the opposite. You get a different type of clarity in that moment. Oh, this is the time. Instead of
This is
everything
appropriate.
around you being a threat and being on all the time. And that's how we get sick,
Yeah.
is when, I'll use the example of Marines so often.
Okay.
Because we do this cruel thing to Marines, right? There's no such thing as a retired Marine or a former Marine. You're a Marine for the rest of your life, hoorah, till you die, right?
Yep.
And we don't allow them to come back to society and put that thing down. And it's really shitty that we do that to them.
Yeah.
And they're on with all of this for the rest of their life. And they're a unique slice along with like EMTs and corrections people in that they don't think they ever have the opportunity to turn it off or put it down.
Right.
So what we need to do is relearn that that thing doesn't need to be on 100% of the time.
Yeah.
That it can exist in the background as one of our tools that we can call up when needed. Because then we can live in peace and joy and harmony and all these other great things. If you can't put that down, these things just aren't available. So we see that that becomes the sickness. And I use them because they're, right? They're here with everything they do. That's why we call on them when we really need this part done. When we need people to do something that nobody else can, I'm like, Marines are special forces. They just do it, right? And then they get gypped, so to speak,
Agreed.
out of these other pieces.
Agreed.
And we have to get it to them that it's okay to turn that off. I have to live with that 100% all the time. Turn it off and it's still going to be there.
Yeah.
You've done the training. It'll recall it. But you deserve more than anybody else the rest of this because we ask so much of you.
Right.
And I know that because we live in a corrections community.
Right.
And we see the fallout of that and the short lives afterwards because they're not able to set it down and create a new identity. And because we've asked so much of them for so long, they deserve this on a different level even. So we beg to give that to those people.
And I think that it's encouraging to note that the VA is on board. I think that even more so than ever before, people at all levels recognize the efficacy and the fact that we're a sick nation and that we need healing and that we can no longer isolate these therapies for the sake of X, Y, or Z agendas, right? These therapies are needed, and I appreciate that you guys are stepping forward and offering them. What I really would love for listeners to know is what an experience looks like. And let's use a hypothetical situation. Let's not say this situation exists, but hypothetically, say that there was a law enforcement officer that was dealing with a problematic person in Cañon City, and you guys are in clinic that day, and they were willing to drop them off on your doorstep. What would that experience into a psychedelic therapy look like from ground zero coming through the door?
So what does DMT therapy look like?
Yes.
Right? Because I want to get this across to people. Because everybody thinks it is what it's not.
Okay.
They think it's exactly what it's not because of Joe Rogan and all these other guys, right?
Yeah.
They think, oh yeah, I've heard about the machine elves and the space aliens and blasting off and tripping balls, right?
Yeah.
But we are recovery people.
Right.
So we accidentally came to the right conclusion because we were afraid of the medicine. So when we used it at the lowest level possible. So then we learned that the benefits of this medicine come at the lowest level possible.
Wow.
So if you think about the hallucinations, the euphoria, the buzzing, all that stuff with psychedelics are really, really cool side effects,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
That's not the point of the medicine. The point is neuroplasticity,
Yes.
and all the neurological benefits that come with it.
Yes.
So what we're really after are all the neurological benefits that come with this entire thing, right?
Yes.
Including the residual period that comes afterwards that is so important.
Okay.
And we can touch on that too.
Sure.
So put aside the tripping balls and feeling really good, right?
Okay.
Those are secondary benefits and kind of cool.
Okay.
But what we're after is, can we do a couple of things? Can we shut off that thing, that hamster wheel that we all have? And I want people to think, what is that thing anyway? Take some time to think, what the hell is that? Because the first time mine turned off and then it came back, I went, if it wasn't for you, everything would be all right around here. And I went, oh my God, am I that crazy? Am I really that insane? Because they've been telling me I'm kind of crazy. Why did I do that? And I'm like, are you really arguing with your subconscious? Okay, so if that's not me, why have I been giving all of my agency and power and decision making over to that? And if I can turn it off, can I become the observer of it? So we want to do that. We want to turn that thing off just long enough that you go, oh, that's not me. I observe it. I don't let it make all of my decisions, because I found out that it's a really shitty decision maker, right? All right? If it's not true self, it's doing whatever it wants. So I observe that, recognize that there's some thoughts there with it. Sometimes, many times, not even like a real congruent or homogeneous thought. So recognize it could be a whole batch of thoughts.
Yeah.
And then I make my decisions here within my real self and move forward with those. So we turn that off. And then the other thing we do that's so important is humans tend to live their lives in two places that don't exist. And a lot of times we don't even recognize this. But we live in a future that we create, that we create it constantly. And that's where anxiety lives, because then we catastrophize it and we worry about it and we try and cure something that doesn't yet exist.
Right.
And then we live backwards in regret for things that have already happened. And we try and cure those things off the premise that we think we might be in a different place now if we could cure that. So we mess with that and we mess with this when the only thing that exists is the now.
Yes.
And for people who are believers, here's the real kicker there, is that God doesn't exist in those places. The divine doesn't exist in its whole in those places, because those are our fantastical creations, and that's why they typically go bad, right? They don't go very well. We catastrophize them regularly.
Yeah.
And this infinite thing that we're a part of exists in the now. So if we can exist in the now and walk through, that must be where God's grace exists, right?
Agreed.
So if we can drop into that, we can be a part of this big, beautiful thing. So when we dose people, that's how I'm measuring if a dosing goes well.
Okay.
Can I turn off your hamster wheel long enough that you can observe it and realize that's not you in your purest form? And can I turn off those two features long enough for you to realize that when your therapist told you to be present, they didn't even know what they were talking about, because they live in those two places.
That's right.
So can we all come together and agree that there's this present moment and that we need to learn how to land there and how to go back to it?
Yeah.
So the ease of a DMT experience, of using that as therapy, is we're going to let you vape
Okay.
from a vape pen.
Okay.
And then you're just going to close your eyes. And then you usually sit back for about 6 minutes. And then it feels like it washes you back to the shore. And you sit up and open your eyes. And we'll usually do that 2 to 6 times, depending on what kind of therapy session it is, or what your goals are, where we're trying to get you, how experienced you are with the medicine, what you're going through. All of that determines that. But we're going to try and get you to this point where I ask you, so what are you thinking about now?
Yeah.
And you kind of cock your head, look up to the corner and go, well, nothing. And that'll be the first time for many people that they remember ever doing that. The first time it happened to me, I thought I had a cognitive disability that kicked in.
Oh, wow.
I didn't think I'd be able to talk because this thing wasn't telling me what to say. So when they started talking to me and I could talk fine and I could do math and I could have gotten up and done some backflips, I'm like, how is this happening?
Yeah.
Because I thought this thing over here made all that happen. And if that's not what makes it all happen, then that's, oh, wow, okay.
Right.
And when you can make that realization, you become the observer to the entirety. And so much of our healing will happen if we stop living in the emotion of it all, entrapped in these emotions, and we can pull back and become the observer of it and look at it in a different way. And then this lens shift happens. And we'll look at the entirety of it in a different way.
Yeah.
It's that easy and that simple. Whereas Freudian psychology, right, and psychiatry, which I'm very against, most all of that system, works in an entirely different way. So our radio show catchline was the failed era of Freud and fluoxetine is coming to an end. Because I think we've done that bad of a hack-up job, right, in that the more we've integrated that system in our society, the sicker we've gotten, the more pathologized we've gotten. Anxiety became an epidemic. Suicide rates went up. All of this thing, we're not moving in the right direction. So our whole thing is, let's get rid of that. We're not taking psychedelics and putting it into that system.
Right.
We're creating something entirely new. So in that, we've discovered, don't sit on the couch and talk about it and keep ripping that scab off. Become the observer of those same events in a whole different way.
I agree.
And that's where your healing's going to occur.
Yeah.
And I can say that because over the last year and 3 months, we've had 600 new patients at the clinic.
Wow.
And
It's a lot of lives.
we use metrics. We keep empirical data on those people.
Yeah.
So we see the needle move, right? I can look at your numbers and see the needle move on those numbers. You come in at a 10 on anxiety, I want you to leave somewhere between a 1 and a 2. And even though 1 through 10 is the only options, many people write 0. So we let 0 be a thing.
Yeah.
But then I see it most in how you leave. I'll sit in the lobby of the clinic sometimes just to watch people come in and out.
Yeah.
I watch them drag their feet and their head be down on the way in, and they can barely speak. They're barely asking for treatment, and then they get out and they walk different and they talk different. Their posture's different. Their affect on their face is different on their very first treatment.
Yeah. Wow. What you're describing reminded me, and I'm mentioning this for listeners who are following and really want to logically understand, but just from a different lens. Have you heard of Audrey Plaza? She's an actress.
Yeah.
So she had a stroke. Did you know that about her? Years ago. And what she recognized during her experience that she has shared is that it was the first time that she recognized there was a part of herself, despite the fact that the subconscious wasn't firing and that all cylinders were no longer firing neurologically. She was still in there. And she was still there. As a matter of fact, it was the essence of her was still there. And I think that it's logically helpful to recognize that this is a very physiological, biological thing that's occurring that is aiding to separate you from literally the programming that you've been gifted in this life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I just wanted to offer it from a lens of like, this is being recognized in neuroscience as well.
Yeah.
So outside of psychiatry, I think other people are ready for the brain to have relief for the nervous system too.
So we can talk some neuroscience.
Let's do
right?
it.
If you want to go there.
Yeah.
I love this part.
Okay.
So this is what I get to do. This is why I'm a psychedelic advocate, because I get to be the one who goes to the hospitals. I go to the addiction clinics. I'm the one who rounded up the doctors, the psychiatrists, the therapists. So our theory was top-down approach, right? So if we hit the doctors and the therapists and the counselors first and ask them, if this worked on you, why don't you give us your treatment-resistant individuals, right? That was the whole thing. Give us the people who have been in therapy 10, 20 years.
Yep.
They've been through 6 to 20 different types of meds.
Thank you.
Their needle hasn't moved.
Mm-hmm.
Give me those people. You've given up on them theoretically already. That's who I want, and I'm going to prove that they work. What we do works on those people.
Yeah.
What none of this other stuff has worked on, let's do that. So what we've learned from a neuroscience perspective, it's cool that you brought up like stroke, right?
Yeah.
So what happens after a stroke is the brain re-enters a critical learning period, right? So that's why the brain knows it's damaged. It needs to learn how to eat again, walk again, speak again. Neurogenesis and neuroplasticity occur, right? So the neurons reaching out, dendrites are reaching out, synapses occurring new places. That's actually how DMT does its magic, right? That's how psychedelics work their magic. So you've got the neurons, right? And that's what creates our thought patterns.
Yeah.
That's what creates our behaviors. And our behaviors through what we call the default mode network,
Right.
go on repeat. Because if my brain thinks it saw success through a behavior or a thought, it's going to repeat that forever. It might not have even been the best solution, but as long as I fooled my brain into thinking it got me out of trouble or harm,
Yeah.
it's like we do this for the rest of our life. And that creates our default mode network, which is part of the ego pieces within that, right?
Right.
So our brain's like, this is what we do all the time. We stay safe. Okay, eventually, those bad behaviors that barely got us out of something become our everyday behaviors.
Right.
And if they're attached to trauma, they become trauma-locked, so to speak. And we do that one no matter what, right?
Wow.
So if there was like violence or shame or anything attached to that, now we do that for these other situations it doesn't even necessarily apply to.
Right.
So DMT comes through, it dissolves the default mode network. It gives you neuroplasticity and gives you the chance to choose new pathways, to make different decisions, to create new behaviors. What they think, Robin Carhart Harrison, some of the bigger guys, right? Imperial College. We've got Johns Hopkins working on this. We've got New York University doing some amazing, mind-blowing work. So one of the theories is that your synapse relies on the dendrites at the end of your neurons, right? So it's firing in between there, kind of like a spark plug.
Right.
And we have these neurotransmitters that float in between there, right? And the SSRI theory was that there wasn't enough of them or they weren't working right. That's all been debunked, right?
Yes.
So we put this component in there that wouldn't allow the serotonin to metabolize out. It's called that's the SSR. The MAOI component of the SSRI theory kept the neurotransmitter floating in there doing a little bit of extra work.
Right.
We found out it wasn't the chemical imbalance that was doing this. A lot of this is behaviorally and thought driven.
Makes sense.
So the unique thing about psychedelics is it can take atrophied dendrites on the end and get them to resprout. So it's like replacing the spark plug
Wow.
and making a higher efficiency there. The unique thing about psychedelics from your neurotransmitters is that the neurotransmitters want to grab things on the ends. It's postulated that there's a specialized gateway that the psychedelics can get through and hit the internal receptors, the 5-HT2A, 5-HT2B,
Wow.
that are inside the neuron
Yeah.
and cause an entirely different type of healing. So it's almost as if God granted us these specialized medicines all throughout the earth for doing this very specific thing, and it works in a wondrous way.
Yeah.
So that's one of the theories on how these works. Is it hits the internal receptors, and then all of a sudden, and the whole thing lights up and causes a neural avalanche, right?
Yeah.
Because it's picking every pathway and going, what's this one do? What's this one do? What's this one do? These are all fun. Why haven't I been using these?
Yeah.
I was on the same 6 pathways no matter what my situation was. And there was all these this whole time. And they're super fun and they're neat. And they're way better than the ones I thought that were safe. And then that's why this whole thing opens up now. And we're like, and trees are greener.
Right.
And there's more life to the sound of the babbling brook. And the whole thing becomes wondrous again. And when I make my coffee in the morning, it's not, oh, I got to make my coffee. So I go to my shitty job. It's,
Right.
oh, that coffee smells good.
Right.
I'm going to buy better coffee now because I can smell the coffee again.
Yeah.
This is how this thing works. It opens those back up to the wonderment of the entirety instead of us being stuck in the humdrum of this is what I do.
Yeah.
I get up every day. And you'll hear the people in like military service, or especially the corrections people. They do this. It's an addictive habit. I only got 6 more years, man. And then I can buy my last 18 months, man. I can buy my life back from this matrix I'm stuck in.
Yeah.
I only got 6 more years of doing this, and then I can start living life again.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know.
Did you hear yourself?
I know.
Did you really hear what you just said? And we get caught in these matrices so much that some of the military people will even say, well, what if this heals me so much? I'm on 100% PTSD disability.
Right.
What if this heals me so much that they like cut me in half and I only get half a check? And I'm like, bro, did you just say you're getting paid to stay sick?
That's right.
That you're staying.
That's right.
You're getting paid to stay mentally ill. Repeat that for me
Yes.
until you hear it
Right.
for what it is.
Right.
And then realize that being well is worth no price.
That's right.
There's no check you could cut me 6 years ago.
Yeah.
If I had 10 million in the bank, I would go to broke for what I feel right now.
Yeah.
Right? If you could get me out of that type of sickness to what I get to experience today, I don't care how much money. If you came to me and you're like, hey, 10 million bucks if you start drinking today,
Oh.
there's not a number you could put on it. And I mean that wholeheartedly.
I do,
Anybody
yeah.
rich out there, let's try this, right? You're not going to find a number or an offering that you could give me to say, hey, if you go back to being your shitty self, I'll give you all this.
Right.
There's no exchange.
Well, you're talking about the spark of life when you talk about lighting up the synapses, right? You're literally taking this whole nervous system, you're unplugging it, counting to 10 and resetting it.
Yeah?
And it's like you said, it's a sad reality that many folks don't know what it is to have just a moment of true presence for themselves. Forget everybody else. And the fact that medicine, that God-given, divinely guided medicine is available for these therapies is just, it's mind-blowing, sincerely. And the fact that dementia patients have just even a glimpse of hope, and Alzheimer's, I mean, these are mean diseases, and I really mean that word. They're cruel. They're borderline evil, is even for the support system. So fantastic. And so research, are you involved in research that's going on?
We're collecting our own data.
Right.
Right? And for now, we're still compiling that and getting some of the results of that. We've talked to some people at universities and stuff about sharing some of that and potentially doing some things like that.
Cool.
And now we're moving into some different zones that we're going to have to rewrite some of our research pieces.
Oh, really?
So right now they're directed mostly towards recovery, so addiction, PTSD type stuff.
Yes.
And where we're hoping to move into next is, it looks like we're going to start treating people straight out of the jail and prison system.
No
And
way.
We've done some of that, right?
Yeah.
So last year I ran a sober living home, and we would treat people that were even still within the system technically, right? Probation and parole. And we'd get them and treat them, and we're fabulous.
Wow.
Now I'm in talks with a couple different people in some places that we're going to start working with people in jail, not with the medicine, but kind of doing some integration and behavioral work. And then as they come out,
Yeah.
we're going to give them the opportunity to do these medicines right away and see if we can have an effect on recidivism, active crime rates. If we can do it in Cañon City, right? We're begging to be able to run this in Cañon City because it's the most unique community there is. Right? It's a former KKK town, right?
Oh, I did not know that.
Oh, yeah. The most famous picture for Cañon City is a Ferris wheel full of guys in hoods and robes. Right?
Oh.
So I joke, since I'm from Chicago, I'm like, maybe they just changed uniforms, right? And that's as tongue-in-cheek as Society of the Sacred Stoned Apes. Because we have 17 holding facilities. So you could say it's the least free place in the world. I do believe we're number one for corrections workers in the greater Fremont County area and asking too much of those people.
Yes.
Right?
I
So
bet.
it bleeds into our community, and we have horrific numbers as far as per capita homelessness, crime, murder, drug use. It's all way above the mean because we've created something there that's a little different.
Yeah.
So we're blessed to have this medicine in downtown Cañon City where we can go, why don't we treat people on both sides of this spectrum? What if we treated the corrections workers and the people getting out?
Thank you.
Can we change the whole thing, and can we change the approach to how we do it at every level? Because it's not working, right? We know
Right.
it's not working. Our penal system, our court system, our police are now hamstrung by some of the things we've put in place legislatively to where they're ready to kind of give up
Sure.
through this revolving door system.
Sure.
Cool, if it's going to be a revolving door system, why don't you give them to us?
Right.
Because we've proven we can work with these treatment-resistant individuals and
Yeah.
addicts. So let's give it a try. Let's just go for it. So we're going to start that, and we may change what we're measuring. Because we can already look at what we're doing currently and say, yeah, resounding success. And then we can look at the smaller studies at university, because at 600 plus people, we probably have the largest study of its kind,
It sounds like it.
right?
Yeah.
You're looking at 40 people on most of these studies.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've mimicked what they knew at Johns Hopkins and New York University and Cambridge and all these others and said, yeah, you're right, that works.
Yeah.
So where can we bust into some new metrics and do some things that haven't been done before? And let's start measuring that. And say, yeah, this works. So we're the people who, we're not pausing in that one. I'm actively looking for what jails can we get into? Where can we do this? Can we start at your psychiatrists? Can we start at your therapists and counselors? Let's dose them. Let's help change their approach and then change the people that they're treating and see if we can do a complete behavioral change within an entire system, because it's worked for a great amount of citizens in our town to the point that we have support from county commissioners. We have support from the current mayor, the new mayor.
Wow.
We have support from many city council people, city administrative people, just all the way around. I had a wonderful talk with our undersheriff a week and a half ago, who's probably going to be our next sheriff. There's a great likelihood. And he is a fan of the components of what we're trying to do. He wasn't even really aware of what we did, but it aligns with some of the things that they're trying to do as far as introducing medically assisted treatments into jails. And we know that Suboxone and some of these other things create lifelong addicts, but they're the best thing we have right now. Kind of like ketamine was the best thing we had 5 to 10 years ago, and I was
Fair.
a fan of it then,
Yeah.
but we don't need synthetics anymore. I
Right.
want to say that out loud. We don't need synthetics if we have natural God-granted medicines.
And you went right where I was hoping you were going to go. Let's not discount the fact that DMT naturally exists in the body already.
Yes, naturally exists within us. Pulses from the pineal gland can be found in the lungs, can be found throughout our whole system.
Yeah.
We're just supplementing something. And
Right.
I'm of the opinion that it's like anything else. How every guy's on testosterone this day, it seems like, because we've plasticized our system through microplastics.
Yes.
So our grandpa had a 600 testosterone level, and we're sitting at a 150, wondering why we're grumpy and edgy and can't recover from physical activity. So doc says, hey, why don't we just supplement your testosterone? I'm saying the same thing. I'm saying
Yes.
we've plasticized and calcified the pineal gland and the nervous system.
Yeah.
Why don't we just supplement your DMT? And I look at it like this. It's like the hose is clogged.
Yes.
Whereas testosterone, you take it, you're going to be on it for the rest of your life. You're going to have to supplement forever. All we're looking to do is unclog the hose of your DMT flow system.
Yeah.
And this is just a metaphor, right?
Yes.
This isn't how it works. But if we can give you enough DMT a few times that it can unclog that hose, it really starts flowing again.
Wow.
It starts working again. So let's take something your body already does, supplement it, get your system working, and then I hope I don't see anybody after 10 to 12 doses,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
I want you to go do the work that it takes with that neuroplasticity and put behaviors and thought patterns into place. Like one of the only business models where I'm hoping we don't have recurring people Suboxone where they're like, hey, I know you started off a heroin addict, so we're going to start you at a low level and then we're going to bump you 4 times until you need Suboxone forever.
Right.
No. I want to get to you and show you how you don't need any of this.
Thank you.
And this is from somebody who was bipolar, on a bunch of meds, an addict, had a true pathology that they handed me.
Sure.
That I would say I don't have that anymore, right?
Sure.
I mean, tell me if you're sitting across from the narcissistic sociopath or not. But
That was a hard one for me to accept. Yeah.
if I can say you can get rid of all that, and I've done this medicine maybe a dozen times,
Wow.
and I have enough I could do it every day and never run out of it. If I can do it 12 times and then just go do so much work, that's what I'm looking for.
Yes.
I don't want to try and make money by sitting with 10 people 100 times.
That's the difference.
I want to sit with 10,000 people
Yeah.
till we can change the entirety of this thing. So eventually we get to a generation that won't need it because the rest of us have created something so beautiful that we're treating the rest of them in a different way.
Healing ourselves. And that's what you're talking about with the top-down approach. Those who are leading, like you said, coming out of recovery, like I encourage you to make sure you've done the integration before you're leading. And I think that on paper, our society does a great job of saying what's healthy and not, and what's acceptable or not in order to lead. And I so appreciate what you're saying, especially in the psychiatric realm. Let's first talk about you. Ego, the one I'm talking to, right? And let's see where you're at and why you believe that you have the skills required to be able to hold that space for someone, because it's a gift, but it's also a skill,
Yeah.
right?
You have to cultivate that quite a bit. Right?
Yeah. And it takes that self-awareness and that introspection in order just to assess whether or not you're the best facilitator for that day, in my opinion. Do you guys assess that for yourselves in clinic?
Oh, yeah. We
Yeah?
have rotating
I
people.
feel like, nah, it's Tuesday.
Oh, it was 3 weeks ago. I was sitting up front, and one of the ladies do a lot of sorting of people and checking in with people. And they're the ones who, like, somebody will walk through the door and instant analysis, right? From that unique perspective that females have, right? The ladies do that. And then one of the ladies looked at me and said, hey, do you want this one? And I'm like, I'm not in that spot right now. I can't give what they need. So I'm going to need you to do a different type of handoff on that.
Nice.
So we have to
Good.
introspect that and be like, oh, no, not that way, not today.
Yeah.
It's not just a free-for-all.
Yeah. No, it's great.
And I don't do that often. That's actually a rarity.
Yeah.
But it's funny you bring that up. That it's coincidental that, recently. And since I'm not the everyday in the trenches person anyway,
Okay.
I get to come in like a bonus for myself.
Yeah.
And I can walk in and be like, hey, let me grab a few people today and do my thing.
Cool.
Or I can go do my outdoor stuff.
Yeah, well, you've cultivated it and you've earned that, right? So I'm grateful that you have that autonomy, and it sounds like a robust team to make sure the operations are going to continue regardless. I appreciate what you said about not wanting to create 100 recurring clients. You want to sit with 10,000 or 10,000s and teach those to go, because that's where we're going to make the ripple effect. But it does start in our own community, and it does start oftentimes, just like it did with you, with yourself first, and your willingness to say, hey, this isn't working for whatever reason it is, and how can I change it? And knowing that there is a way for somebody just to taste hope gives me encouragement, because I think about folks who, think about your day one, day zero, right? And it's consistent redirection of the mind every moment of the day. Nope, back over here. Nope, back over here, which is neuroscience and CBT and so many of these things that we're talking about. So I think that you're offering a level of education that I hope is digestible for folks. And also, you're offering relief that doesn't exist in so many areas of medicine. And thank you. Sincerely.
It's my pleasure. And know that it's available
Yeah.
in Colorado, right around the corner. And we have a unique space to do it openly.
Right.
We thought when we opened up a clinic, we'd have instant pushback. And
Sure.
that the community or some law enforcement would show up and say, yeah, you can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You
Yeah.
can't offer guidance on medicines. But we had already decriminalized that in Colorado on a very broad level. Prop 122 was written geniusly, as open as they made the whole thing. And then here's something to note. We haven't seen this massive uptick in children using mushrooms or
Right.
even adults misusing psychedelics, because that was the concern, right?
That's right.
Is it going to get ugly? Because now that we've said, hey, you can just walk around with an ounce of mushrooms in your pocket, are people going to be using them in the wrong places? But we've started to get ahead of that, right?
You think
And,
so?
and that's what I do. That's my Recovery Ape Radio piece, is
Okay.
this. We go around and we make sure, are you using this in the right way?
Yeah.
So I want to touch on that piece too, right? The harm reduction portion of this, that we can't forget, setting,
Right.
the integration piece,
Yeah.
having a guide there, all that stuff's important. Most of us have this experience with mushrooms that we remember from high school or college when we were like 3 or 4 beers deep and somebody showed up with a magic mushroom bag, right? And it went exactly like it should have. And we're like, 30 years later, we're like, oh no, I'm not doing psychedelics for my mental health. Because I remember that time when I was 22 and that went bad. So we got to bust through that stigma and be like, oh no, that's not what we're talking about at all. We're talking
you.
about a facilitator in front of you.
Yes.
A small amount, or at least the appropriate amount, even if it's a big amount, we're dialing that in.
Yeah.
We're using things to realize what's the difference between somebody who needs 1.5 grams and, hey, I think you need a 4-gram journey today. And we need to be in a really controlled setting and do the proper work before and after that to move the needle a lot. Right?
Thank you for saying that. The facilitator doesn't have an appetite for somebody to have a far out experience or not to get to go home on time, right?
Oh, I don't want to be there for that part if I don't have to.
Right.
Sometimes they do need to do shadow work on that level where I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a session.
Yeah.
But no, we're not trying to get to these stories that everybody has of like pink elephants and trees screaming at them. It's not that.
No.
And we have ways to avoid that.
A natural reset without the stroke or the neural less typical episodes that can occur that cause it.
So we need to keep getting ahead of this and stay way far ahead of it and recreate the lexicon of healing natural medicines all throughout our community.
Yes.
Of what does this look like? What's microdosing, right? What's small dosing? What's a macrodose? What are the differences that we have to take care of going into that, coming out of that? I was at the Winter Symposium last January, and somebody brought up 2 deaths that occurred on mushrooms the year prior. And they're like brainstorming how to avoid this. And nobody was like, hey, what was their setting? What was their mentality going into this? And
Yeah.
they had just told a story about how both these people had perseverating thoughts moving
Mm.
into this thing, and that they did mushrooms alone.
Oh.
Super avoidable things if you just stick to the very, very basics. And we have a list of basics that we've known
Good.
really well since the 1960s, right?
Yep.
We had a bunch of people do this work half a century ago, a long time ago,
Yep.
and then the 1970s hit. We turned all of it off, said you couldn't use it, you couldn't even do research on it. We can't lose that. That was important work.
Yeah.
We're building from that base. Those are the giants whose shoulders that we're standing upon now.
Yeah.
Right?
Agreed.
Hear that term. We need to reuse it here and remember this isn't new.
Yeah.
So, as a reminder, acacia, the acacia wood that we extract the DMT from, is the same acacia wood that's spoken about in the Bible. The Holy Tabernacle was made of it. The Ark of the Covenant was made of it because they knew there was something holy about that wood. There was something sacred and important about that. It would have been the most common species of bush and tree that would have been in the region that they were traveling through in the Old Testament.
Wow.
Because it's a very hardy species and there's a bunch of it,
Yeah.
right? And it is the tree that blooms at all times that's mentioned in the Bible because it's found in so many places throughout the world
Yeah.
that at any moment of the year it will be blossoming in these different places. The ancients knew these things and we discount it. What we're doing is new for where we're at in the whole thing of what we're moving through, but we're introducing what the smart ancient people knew all along.
I agree.
That's right.
In these wisdom teachings, thankfully, like you're sharing, in the 60s, we have the studies, the arcane wisdom that has been eliminated, right? Medicinally, if you just look at China's history with their medicine and the books that were burned and banned and everything and oral traditions. So I am grateful that you're keeping the wisdom teachings alive. And I'm hoping that we can find wisdom keepers, elders, indigenous and otherwise, that can help to bring this wisdom to the forefront because we're missing it and it's here.
We were talking about certain cultures earlier,
Yeah.
which I happen to be a part of, half Spanish Mexican and I'm half native Mexican. We took this beautiful native culture and we came through and we wiped out their medicine. And then we said, hey, what we're going to do instead is we'll give you alcohol and casinos. And we're going to see how that works out. And it worked exactly like it should have. And these are my people I'm talking about because my entire side of that family has a great tradition of two things that were given to us by the same set of people, you could say. Catholicism and alcoholism. The Spanish conquistadors came along and they gave us a religion and they wiped out our medicine. And then they said, good luck. And then a while later, this version of our society is like, hey, we're going to apportion off land, right? And we're going to make up for this vast land that you have by giving you alcohol and casinos. So we had this medicine and we had all these keepers of the medicine. And now we don't have that. Yeah. And maybe some of us will find our way back to it. That's the hope, right?
I see it happening.
Yeah.
Be the change you want to see, right?
They even wiped out the cactus, the San Pedro cactus and the huachuma and the peyote. They tried completely wiping out those cactus because they knew the power of it. Why do I need a priest? Why do I need to think there has to be somebody between me and God? If I can go peep at God real quick. And that's the mystical portion that we talk neuroscience. Let's not forget the mystical portion of this that's so great too, is
Absolutely.
that if I can get out of my way long enough to go peep at God, maybe I'll make some realizations that I wasn't making before. And all these psychedelics, we talk about ego death. I'm not real big on the term ego death.
No,
either,
me
right?
neither.
I'm big on the dissolution of the default mode network. I'm still trying to kill off my ego, and I've done a lot of mushrooms. It shouldn't be bad. So
get it.
you just get out of your way long enough to take that peep at the divine and realize you're part of the divine.
Yes.
And if I'm part of the divine and you're part of the divine, then we're all part of this thing together.
Yeah.
And then I stop this whole nihilistic part of, man, I don't even like human beings. I don't like being on this earth. I'm just waiting for the apocalypse to come. And then I'll go be with Jesus. Because I've been programmed that the grace of God is not now. It's an abstraction for later. It's somewhere else. All the programming is that you can't have this now. It's later, and it fucks us up in the
It
head.
does.
There's no other way to put it. It
Nope.
literally just fucks us up.
It does.
Because if I'm told that I don't get the grace of God now, and that heaven is some abstraction that I may get to at some other place, then what is this thing I'm walking through now? And then I can make this realization that not only is God's grace available now in the present,
Yeah.
but I'm part of it. I'm beautifully part of it. And wait, this whole thing's part of it. And that means you two are part of it. And there's no real separation between us. The way I treat all of you really makes a big difference in what I'm a part of.
Yeah.
And that was the shift I had to make from, remember, narcissistic sociopath to, so this is us.
Yeah.
And this is us. And all I have to do is walk through it and be as kind and loving in this thing as I can possibly be.
Yeah.
And that light's going to shine on me. And once that light shines on me so bright, somebody's going to go, hey, what is that?
Yeah.
And I say, hey, you know what? I'm going to set this right here on the table. And when you're ready, you go ahead and pick that up. And you get to have every bit of it too. It's an abstraction for later. We don't need to sit on the couch and talk about it for 10 years. We're going to do it right now.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you vape this thing, and 6 minutes later, you're going to come out of this easy meditation and make some realizations that are going to shift the entire thing 6 minutes later.
Ooh.
That's all I'm asking.
Ooh,
Can
just
you-
change your mind.
Can you sit that short of a time and make it that easy? Come out on the other side a different being. And then you can start your healing today. You can walk outside and the trees are going to be greener. And
Honestly.
everything's going to be a little easier. And you're going to start it today.
We have folks in our community local to Colorado that are available to you. And for those who aren't in Colorado, say that we have some of those folks that we love back in Illinois
Yeah.
that are curious. How can they get in touch with you guys? Is that a website that I can link below?
I have recoveryape.com.
Okay.
You can go check out some of the services there.
Okay.
I would encourage everybody, though, hit up my Instagram. You got to
Agreed.
see how we do this, right?
Agreed.
And what it is.
Yeah.
Come on my Facebook, see the clips we have on there. It'll give you an idea of what we do.
Okay.
And then contact me directly. Just private message me. I'm as open and transparent about this as possible. And I want people to have that personal, it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, you come to me. I'm not some guru or something, so
Yeah.
message me up, find me. Donnie Martinez
Okay.
on Facebook, Instagram. Let's just connect.
Thank you so much. And I really hope that you will take him up, if not on the connecting individually, the education piece that Donnie and his team have put together over the course of many moons. So get out there and show your support. Help us to spread this education. And until next time, take care. And Donnie, you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ravyn. It's been wonderful.
It's been great.